Good evening, one and all. On behalf of MMBA English Literary Club, I extend my warm welcome to each and everyone present here. I now request Ms. J. Lakshmi Prasanna, Co-ordinator, English Literary Club, to welcome the gathering.
Good evening, all. I welcome Hon'ble Mr.Justice Anand Venkatesh and the gathering to this function. I thank each and every one of you for being with us today in this evening. Today marks the second English Literary Club meeting after the installation for the year 2022 and 2023. Today's topic is English as a tool for advocates. In fact, the command of language is a key to success for any profession in which the word counts. Advocacy is a profession where the language, both in oral and in written, plays a decisive role. We as an advocate needs language skills in diverse forms. We need language skills while presenting the case before the court, while convincing the case with the clients, especially when dealing with complex issues. An advocate cannot bring the rightness of the cause, which he argues, to the attention of the court without the language skills. Words are the vehicles of one's thought. One cannot think and converse without using the words. At the same time, the language which you use must be simple and clear for effective communication. A word may mean one thing in one context and it may mean in another way in a quite different context. So the words which we use must be very plain and simple. I assure you that today's guest of honor will be the befitting person to explain today's topic, English as a tool for advocates, and his lordship will help us grow to be more productive and smart. With these few words, I once again welcome you all to this function.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Mr. S. Srinivasa Raghavan, President MMBA, to present the memento to our Chief Guest, Hon'ble Mr.Justice N. Anand Venkatesh. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lordship. May I now request Dr. D. Gnanasekaran, Chairman, English Literary Club, to present the book titled The Law and Lawyers, authored by Mahatma Gandhi, to the Library MMBA. Now I invite the Secretary MMBA, Mr. K.P. Narayana Kumar, to receive the gift. Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. D. Gnanasekaran, Chairman, English Literary Club, to offer his presidential address.
Honorable Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, Judge, Madras High Court, President of MMBA, Mr. Srinivasa Raghavan, General Secretary, Mr. V.P. Narayan Kumar, our Founder President, Senior Counsel, Mr. Isaac Mohanlal, Executive Committee members, Office Bearers of MMBA, Fraternity, Advocates, friends, members of the English Literary Club. Good evening to everybody. I thank you everybody. Our special, boundless and limitless gratefulness to our Honorable Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, who has come over here to uplift our skill in English language. While I am speaking this, my prudence nudges at my hip with its elbow and whispers into my ear in a warning voice that Gnanasekaran, stop here. Nectar is awaiting. Nectar in the form of words from the mouth of erudite personality is awaiting. Don't stand between the gathering and the much awaited speech. Go away. Thus, I hear some whispers. So, I want to give much respect to my prudence and I move away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now request our Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, to deliver the special address on the topic, English as a tool for advocates.
Good evening to all of you. I thank the MMBA English Literary Club and its office bearers for inviting me to deliver a special address on English as a tool for advocates. when Mr. Athiff came and met me and requested me for delivering this address, I asked him for how much time I will have to address the gathering. So he felt a bit unnerved by what I asked. He said, I leave it to your lordship, like what you say in the court. So I will follow the best principle which a speaker must follow. That principle is that you will have to speak till the moment you understand that the listeners have received the message which you wanted to convey them. So I will be looking at all your faces very attentively, and the moment I find that the message has reached you, I will stop there. English as a tool for advocates, if I start saying you will have to use this language, you will have to use this word, it will get boring, and therefore I would want to present this very differently than what you all expected. I want to touch upon neuroscience to start with, and then I will go into the purpose of a language, and then finally I will enter the language, namely English, which we use in courts, particularly the high courts, and give you some ideas as to how an effective presentation or effective words being used in court can really help you in developing your advocacy skills. The science behind language, according to me, is very important. We normally try to look for magic and the extraordinary things from the outside world. But what we forget is that each and every part of our body is a big magic. Right from our birth. Just think about this. A sperm swims and gets into the egg, and we are all born. Can there be a better magic than this? Can there be a magic more magnificent than this? The magic starts right from there. And the greatness of each part of our body will be realized only if you lose the ability to use that part. The smallest of things, smiling. Let's take smiling. There is a particular nerve in the face. If it doesn't work or it gets damaged, you may be attempting to smile, but you will not be able to smile at all. You will not be able to show your emotions at all. Just think about a life like that. We today take for granted that smiling, naturally smiling comes. Most of the time we are morose, always staring at others and competing with each other, and most of us have forgotten how to smile at another person. That's a different thing, a different subject altogether. I don't want to get into that subject today. But the fact that we take smiling and showing emotions in our face for granted will be realized if you lose that ability in that particular nerve in your face. It's a nerve in your face, and once that nerve is damaged and once that nerve gets dysfunctional, you will not be able to smile, you will not be able to show your emotions, and thereafter you will find that it's so difficult to live in this world without showing those emotions. You will have to put yourself in a situation like that and then think. Somebody will be joking, somebody will be saying something which you like, somebody will be saying that you are the best judge in the whole of Madras High Court. I will not be able to smile. I will be just staring at them like this. What will they think about me? So, that's the magic that is happening on a daily basis, and we don't seem to realize it. So therefore what I thought was, let me start from that science. When you talk about language, there is a portion in the brain which is exclusively given to us for language. How many of us know this? That's where we have to start on a language. Because we take it for granted that language, they teach us when we go to school, we pick up a language, we start speaking, and then we don't even bother to get back to the basics and see where exactly is this language happening in me. Which is the part of my body which is propelling the language in me. It's very fundamental I always feel that this magic of our body, where each and everything which we do and which we take for granted, taking one step, writing, showing our finger, everything involves so much of collective nervous system that we take it for granted, and when we lose it, we actually understand its significance. So, insofar as language is concerned, it is highly localized on the left hemisphere of our brain. In our left hemisphere, there are two areas. One area is called as the Broca's area, and the other area is called as the Wernicke's area. Don't get confused about these words. And these words are not very important, but look at the magic that is happening inside. So, left hemisphere is the one which controls the right portion of our body. All of you will be knowing that. So, this Broca's area is the one which is associated with speech. And the Wernicke's area is the one which is associated with understanding language in the left hemisphere. So, when the Broca's area gets affected or it gets damaged, there is an impaired speech, there is a broken speech. If the Wernicke's area gets damaged or broken or affected, then you start speaking nonsense. The language does not come and something else comes out of you because of that particular portion getting damaged. These two, Broca area and the Wernicke area, gets connected by something called as arcuate facilis. Forget about the word. Don't get bogged down with the word. So, this gets connected, and if this connection gets affected, it leads to disorientation between understanding the language and the speech. Only if you suffer this, you will know what I am talking about. And if you go and read neuroscience, you will find lots of patients who are suffering from this. There will be disorientation between what they are talking and their understanding of the language which gets inside. How did they find out this? Is the next question. How do you say it is left hemisphere? How do you say that these are the areas which are involved in this? There is something called as corpus callosum, which is the nerve fiber which attaches our left and right hemisphere in the brain. If it sounds like a science class, that is fine. But you have to understand this. Since you people intentionally avoided science when you were in school and college, today I ensured that you will not, and I've asked them to lock the door also. So, there is something called as corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is the connecting fiber between the left and right hemisphere. So, what happens is, when people suffer with fits, seizure of a very high magnitude, the neurosurgeons found out that the best way to control it is to cut this connection, is to cut this corpus callosum fiber. Once they cut this corpus callosum fiber, there is something called as a split brain syndrome. And in the split brain syndrome, they perfectly understood what the left was doing and what the right was doing. Since the corpus callosum was not connecting each other, the left was not able to see what is in the left, and the right was not able to see what is in the right. So, this is how the brain, insofar as language is concerned, works. Now I make some sounds, I make some movements in my mouth, some sound comes out, it is traveling in the air and it reaches your ear. Till then we are able to understand. From there it reaches a place called as primary auditory cortex. It reaches primary auditory cortex. Same way, you read something from a book, or you find the body language of somebody who is dozing off hearing my lecture. That you see with your eyes. That reaches a place called as primary visual cortex. So what you hear reaches a primary auditory cortex, and what you read, see, reaches the primary visual cortex. From there, whatever auditory or visual, from there it straight away reaches to Wernicke's area. I already mentioned about Wernicke's area, which is dealing with the language, right? When I say language, I am including body language also into that. It reaches the Wernicke's area. The language is comprehended by the Wernicke's area. From there, it travels to the Broca's area. From the Broca's area, the information is sent to the primary motor cortex, which controls the muscles in the mouth and helps in responding. This is how the cycle goes on. Even though I explained all these things happen in milliseconds, not even a second. So it's actually happening. I am uttering some sounds, my mouth is moving, it has reached your ear, it has reached the particular place, it has gone to the Wernicke's area, it has gone there. The only thing which remains is that you not responding to me. So it is now under your control, and that is the one which is called as the primary motor cortex. It is controlling you. After 20 minutes, if I continue with this science, somebody will say, stop it. So that's the ultimate response which will come if I continue with this. So this is the broad model which the brain does in understanding language, and I thought that this is very important for everybody to know about and develop a lot of interest in neuroscience. My dear friends, I am telling you this. Neuroscience has developed leaps and bounds in the last 40 years. It was always a challenge. Neuroscience was always a challenge, and nobody was able to understand what was actually going in. But today, because of the scientific advancement, neuroscience has reached such a level that it sounds like a magic when you read it. Many things which we associate with the power from outside actually is happening inside. Since we did not have an explanation for all that, we were always looking at outside and seeing that that was the one which was influencing you. For instance, your free will, the so-called free will about which all of you are talking, neuroscience says there is nothing called as free will. They say that even before you decide to do it, your brain has already decided it. And you are only an execution petition there. You are only executing which your brain has already decided. So, I wanted to start today's speech with this science behind language, and I think that it will be very useful for you to appreciate the part of the brain which actually is involved in something which we have taken for granted when it comes to language and our response. See, language is humanity's greatest invention, and according to me, our development and civilization completely rests upon a language. If there was no language, I don't think there will be civilization. I don't think there will be development. And I don't think that you could have witnessed a world becoming a global village without a language. Then, learning a new language actually increases brain activity and it increases the size or capacity of that part of the brain. Your head does not get bigger. That is head weight. I am not talking about that. I am only saying the more language you learn, the space that has been given to the language in the brain, the capacity increases. And neuroscience has proved it beyond reasonable doubts. Then, same way, your cognitive ability to understand improves when you learn a second language at an early age. This is once again proven beyond doubts by neuroscience. So therefore, apart from learning Tamil, please learn other languages also if you want your cognitive capacity to increase. Of course, it may be too late for many here. This is for the learning which happens at an early age. Okay. Why are we discussing about developing the English language skills in this forum? First question, why should we even discuss about all this? Whether we like it or not, there are two reasons according to me. Whether we like it or not, it has become a universal language which is spoken and understood across countries. So, you cannot avoid it. And that's the only language through which you will be able to go to any part of the world and sort of manage to communicate with people. Okay, why is it discussed in this forum? Why is it discussed here in the High Court in MMBA? That's an issue. All this is fine. Why are we discussing it? Because of Article 348(1) of the Constitution of India. The answer is as simple as that. Article 348(1) of the Constitution of India makes English as the language of the court proceedings before the Supreme Court and High Courts, except in cases where a special exemption is given by way of a notification. I don't want to get into that. It has not been given to us. So therefore, whether we like it or not, we have to address in English before the High Court. So therefore, the organizers deemed it fit to continuously conduct seminars or conduct meetings like this to impress upon the importance of English language. For many of us here, you either changed from Tamil to English midstream. You started with a Tamil medium and you changed to English in the midstream, or the other category of persons who learned English in a very imperfect way. There will be broadly two categories like this. So my first advice or the first suggestion is, don't fear that you will speak imperfect English. In fact, according to me, it is not wrong to talk English imperfectly because it is not our mother tongue. It is as simple as that. It is not our mother tongue. So therefore, we are bound to talk imperfect English only, except the two earlier speakers who threatened me. So this imperfection in English language, my dear friends, it's not a disadvantage, and we are bound to make mistakes because it is not our mother tongue. It is as simple as that. See, there is another way of looking at it. Englishmen took away, destroyed most of our cultures, most of our the resources which we had. So the best way to take revenge is to toy with his language, which he has left in our hands now. So that's a good way of taking revenge on the Englishmen who took away all the other things from us. Please don't get me wrong. I am not asking you to speak wrong English, but what I am saying is, don't hesitate or feel shy to talk in English. After all, language develops only if you keep talking. See, what can be taught for a language? Alphabets can be taught, grammar can be taught, spelling can be taught, but how you express yourself in a language or through a language can never be taught. It can never be taught, and it must be developed. The only way to develop is to talk without hesitation. And don't care about mistakes, since I told you that it is not our mother tongue. And we cannot reach perfection, and reaching perfection is not our goal. So, how do you do this? You have to listen continuously, and that's the best way to develop language. Apart from you expressing yourself in a language, the best way would be to listen to people who speak good English. Listening continuously actually effectively gets in subconsciously. You will not even know that. You just keep on listening. Most of the, let me put it this way. Most of the Tamil songs, which we know word by word, when did you sit and listen? By staring at the radio or the tape recorder? Never. We keep traveling. We used to keep traveling. From some tea shop it used to come, or from some loudspeaker it used to come, or from some house at the corner of the street you will hear some radio sound. How is it that it got into us and it ingrained into us, and we are able to sing that song without forgetting the words, without forgetting the tune, without forgetting the rhythm? How did this happen? That's why I am saying there is something called as a powerful subconscious which is ingrained in each and every one of us. So, the second best way of learning language is to keep listening to others, keep listening to a lot of persons who are good in communication skills. So, the grasping power or the focus is very essential for a language development. And that, coupled with continuously trying, conversing without shyness or hesitation, it definitely develops your language skills. Next, what is the purpose of language? What is the purpose of language? The purpose of language is to convey. Full stop. That's all. That's the purpose of language. It is not to show off, but to convey. Language is not here to show off. Language is there only to convey. These fundamentals we must keep in mind. When you speak, don't try to impress others. Always try to express yourselves. There is a big difference between these two things. How do you impress others? By using the most complicated words from the dictionary, by quoting the greatest of thinkers across the world. People will applaud, but nobody will understand what the person spoke. And according to me, a speech which does not result in the message being conveyed to the listeners is of no use at all. So, I am again saying, when you speak, don't attempt to impress. Always try to express yourself from within. Only then what you speak will reach the destination. And it will have an effect on the others who will pick up something from what you said. And it will inspire them for their own growth. I will give you a small example. Kasturibai Gandhi, I am sure all of you know Kasturibai Gandhi. She is the wife of Mahatma Gandhi. So, she came to Tamil Nadu. She does not know English. She is a Gujarati, basically. So, she goes to the Salem ashram of Rajagopalachari. of Rajaji. So she gets enamored with the khadi saris. So she goes to the dyeing unit, D-Y-E-I-N-G unit, and she was feeling the sari and all that. Rajagopalachari comes. She turns to Rajagopalachari and says, "This color go?" This was the question. "This color go?" Meaning, will it fade? This color will go, will it fade, etc., etc. You all know who Rajagopalachari is and his acumen in both English and Tamil language. Rajagopalachari replied, "This color no go. This color no go." So, it has been conveyed. What she wanted has been conveyed. Instead, if Rajagopalacharya had said, "See, the texture of these clothes are such that once the dyeing happens, it never normally fades." And what will be the reaction of Kasturibai Gandhi? What do Rajagopalachari gain by using a language like that? I gave you this example only to understand. This is recorded. What I am saying is recorded. I gave you this example only for you to understand that the purpose of language is only to convey. That's all. She wanted a doubt to be clarified, and that has been clarified in a language, and Rajagopalachari cannot be speaking it in some international forums. But for that particular purpose, that language was enough. He had already conveyed it. Same way, Mahatma Gandhi, what he did was he wrote a letter to a great man called as Right Hon'ble Srinivasa Sastri. He was a manifestation of English language. This Right Hon'ble Srinivasa Sastri, everybody used to fear talking with him. So, Right Hon'ble Srinivasa Sastri receives this letter. Instead of reading and understanding, he starts underlining in red ink wherever he found grammatical mistakes, wherever he found spelling mistakes, and this letter was sent back to Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi receives it. Immediately he writes a reply saying that, "Mr. Right Honorable Srinivasa Sastri, there are hundreds and hundreds of letters like this. So, and it requires correction. Would you like to be appointed as my assistant? And what is the salary that you are expecting for it?" What did this convey? What was Mahatma Gandhi doing at that time? He was not teaching English to people. He was involved or fighting for the freedom of the country. And he had written to Srinivasa Sastri to convey that message. But this man, being what he was, underlined everything. So Gandhi thought that, okay, if this is the job which you want, you will have the work here. Because every other letter is going to have spelling mistakes and grammatical mistakes. So please come and join me as my assistant, and please tell me what salary you want. Juxtapose it what we are trying to do now. What is the reason for us to sit after 5 o'clock and listen to this and understand the importance of English language? Not to become Shakespeare, but to develop our advocacy skill. That's all. The extent to which, so the motto for Gandhi was freedom and not development of English language. The motto for us is how well we will be able to develop this skill of putting across things in a simple language which can be easily conveyed to others and to the judge. That ultimately will help us in being successful in the profession. And that's the only reason why they have asked me to come and address you. And that's the only intention of the organizers also. Okay. Coming to the topic, language in court. I would say, or I would bring it under 3 heads, the language. One is the spoken language. Second is the body language. And the third is silence. Silence is a very effective language. and all married people will know what I am talking about. So, insofar as spoken language is concerned, whether you like it or not, there is a court language. There is a court language which you must learn. You cannot be addressing in courts with a language which you normally use outside the court premises, like yeah, well, like, no. These are also part of the language only, but these are languages which are not supposed to be used in courts. Which means what? Which means that even a person who is very good in English language may find it difficult to address in a court, since he is not well acclimatized with court language. So, what language are we talking about? English court language. English court language is what we are talking. So, each jurisdiction, civil, criminal, taxation, service cases, everything has peculiar words to it. It has peculiar words to it which you will be able to address only if you keep listening to what the advocates or senior advocates or experienced counsels are using before a court. In a civil case, you will continuously hear counsel talking about the burden of proof, the plaintiff, the declaration, injunction. These are all words which you will keep continuously hearing in a civil court. In a criminal court, you will be hearing about material objects, corroboration. These are all, corroboration is something which civil lawyers may not be using very regularly, even though they may be knowing. So, in service jurisprudence, you will be using a step-up pay, promotion, etc., etc. So, there are peculiar words which we keep using for each jurisdiction. So, language, English as a language, English as a court language, English as a court language for the concerned jurisdictions keep changing meaning. There are some peculiar words which we keep using in every jurisdiction. So, that must also be learned. You cannot be learning it by reading. You can learn it only by listening, being attentive. That's why I said the focus that is required. Even if you sit and listen subconsciously, it will all get in. So, therefore, you cannot speak in a court in a language which is used informally. That's not supposed to be, you are not supposed to address courts like that. And depending upon the judge, you have to modulate your language. This is key. What I am saying is key. Depending on the judge, you have to modulate your language. And if you address them in such a way that they don't understand what you are trying to convey, then your effective, brilliant English exposition before such judges is of no use. There are all chances that the judge will dismiss your case. So, modulation of language depending upon a judge is an advocacy skill. It is an advocacy skill. And you must not use a language which gives an impression to the judge that you are conducting some classes to him. Many things we don't know, but we don't like to be taught like that. So, you should not be addressing in such a way that you stand like some professor and the judge is sitting there like some student. Not most of the judges may not like it. These are all truths, and somebody has to tell you that. So, don't conduct classes, don't conduct lectures when you are in court. I have seen some very senior advocates of the yesteryears who did it, and in spite of their great knowledge in law and erudition of language, they did not fare well as advocates. reality. What I am saying is truth. And I have seen advocates who do not have very good language, who do not have very good communication skills, being very successful in this profession. So, what does it teach us? It teaches us that you don't need erudition to sort of make the judge feel inferior. What you need is a language which will convey to the judge, which will make the judge understand what he wants. Then, getting into the spoken language, the clarity in thought and proper sequencing and conveying it in simple sentences is key for success. I know some senior advocates who are very good or who have lot of knowledge in law, but their thought and words will be completely disproportionate. Meaning, their thinking process will be so fast that by the time they convey, they have already thought about 3 or 4 other things. So, this Wernicke's area and so you see this Broca's area and Wernicke's area problem will come because the coordination is gone. So, what's the best way to do it? The best way to do it is, at least what I taught myself was, sequence it. Sequence, dates and events, you know. What are dates and events? By dates and events, you try to understand the entire case on its sequence, how it came step by step, that sequencing. Once you sequence your ideas, for instance, for today's speech, I sequenced it. How did I sequence it? First, I spoke about science. Then I spoke about what a language, what are the abilities which are developed when you understand or get into a new language. Then I got into the purpose of language. Then I straight came into the language as an advocacy skill. So I sequenced it. If I had not sequenced it, or if I had jumbled it in my mind, how will I convey this? I will start with Kasturibai Gandhi. Then I will go to brain. Then I will get into advocacy skill. And by the time I end, nobody will be sitting here. So, sequencing. Sequencing is the key for conveying it in a better manner to others, to the court. So, 3 things: sequencing, then clarity in thought. While sequencing, going by the mood of the court, going by the speed of the court. It's not every time possible that a judge will allow you to do it in the way you sequenced it. It's not possible many times. So, while sequencing, you must also have a clarity, so that you will not compromise on the sequencing, but you may not come from 1, 2, 3. You may, from 1 you will jump to 5 to 8, rather than from 10 to 3 to 1. You understand what I am saying? So, this sequencing will help you in understanding a case well, and clarity of thought will make you easily manage what is happening in a court. Because when you put notes, not every time you will be allowed to address before the court in the same sequence. Particularly it happens in admission courts. In an admission court, you take the notes, correct? Your notes will be on full page. How much time it takes for an admission? So, you would have sequenced, but even for doing it, you should sequence it. You should sequence it. Only then you will be able to get into the important areas which will impress the mind of the judge for granting an order. So, that's why I am saying clarity of thought, sequencing, and put it in a simple language. Don't complicate language, because one full paragraph without a full stop does not really help you at all. with conjunction, with commas, with this. Ultimately, you will not know where it started, where it ended, what are you trying to convey. So, this continuous jumbling of sentences, simple sentence formation is very, very important, and this simple sentence formation is the one which will make it easier to convey what you want to convey in a quote. Lastly, but most importantly, again this rule will apply. Don't try to impress a judge in the court. You express yourself well. That is more than enough. That is more than enough. Your job in the court is not to act like a orator. Your job in the court is to just express yourself perfectly, leave the rest to the court. If you try impressing the court, it may be counterproductive. Right? So, from spoken language, let us go to body language. Please understand that your body language speaks a lot on your character. On your character. So, you may not know what you are conveying through a body language, but the onlooker knows. You speak something and you keep looking at some other place. The judge asks you questions, you keep turning this side. Or the judge goes hammer and tongs against some counsel, you keep shaking your head. The judge keeps looking at you also. Or some horrible joke cracked by a judge, which nobody can laugh, you try to laugh, just to impress that judge. Most of the jokes which we crack are all horrible. No person with a good sense can laugh at all. But with lot of strain, you try and laugh and impress the judge. I don't think you will get an interim order by laughing for horrible jokes. So, the body language speaks a lot about your character. In the court, very, very important for the junior advocates. What you do, how you move, how you speak with others, what voice you use in court, these body languages speaks a lot, volumes about your character. Sometimes it conveys even more than what the words convey. When you are giving a sort of confidence to somebody in terms of giving a loan, in so many words, from a distance your wife does this. You withdraw your words. She conveyed more than what you conveyed in terms of words. Sometimes you argue in the court. The judge who was seeing the paper, by bringing the specs here, sees you like this. It has conveyed more than what you conveyed by means of words. So, sometimes body language conveys more than what your words are conveying. Then, junior advocates never attempt to mimic the body language of the seniors. This is very, very important. Subconsciously, you will do in the same way your senior does. All those things you will be able to see. But as a junior advocate, if you behave that way in the court, it does not work in your favor. And mimicking your senior is not what is expected out of you. You will have to learn the art from the senior. Because whatever is done by the senior is not always good, right? There are certain things which you may not like at all. Why unnecessarily mimic it? So, don't try to mimic, don't try to get into body languages which your senior does. There are some senior advocates who are very boisterous, who raise their voice in courts, who try to sort of create that threat factor in a judge. Don't imitate that. Don't ever imitate that, because they have already reached a position and there is no way you can change them. So, therefore, we have to devise ways and means to handle such advocates. But that does not mean that you will imitate it as a junior advocate. Be very, very careful, because I have seen junior advocates mimicking their seniors and cutting a sorry figure in court. Don't do it consciously. Don't sort of do whatever your senior is doing. You develop your own style of expressing yourself in court. Fundamentally, if you are simple and a normal person inside, it will get reflected in your body language. Whatever comes out is actually something which is available inside. That only gets itself exhibited outside. So if you are a simple person, you are very normal inside, you don't carry the air, you will express yourself in a better way. Then the last thing is silence as a language. Know when to stop arguing. It's very, very important that you should know when you should get to silence. Watch the seniors when they do it in court. That's exactly what you have to watch the seniors, because you will know that somebody who was arguing so much suddenly has stopped everything. And you will even find some senior advocates sitting down. Those are very, very important moments which actually helps the case of that senior. And this is something you have to learn from senior advocates as to when you have to shut your mouth. Know when you have to maintain silence. When the judge is screaming, when he has come to the court with a bad mood, when he is arguing along with you, don't raise your voice and start arguing against him. That's the best place to keep silent. The judge will get tired. If you don't respond, how much of screaming can he do? And how much of arguments can he do? At some time the judge has to stop and listen to you. At that point of time, you make your representation. It's very important. That's a moment where you have to maintain silence. You have to maintain silence just to allow the judge to settle down. Then, when the judge is grilling the other side, this is very, very important. When the judge is already grilling the other side, I have seen advocates from this side also continuing to say whatever they want to say. And every time I have to tell them that I am already troubling the other side. And why are you joining my team now? That's exactly where you have to stop. Just to maintain silence. 2-3 things are very important there. It's psychology. 1, remain silent. 2, don't show a body language which will insult the other side. Because it's only a matter of time where you will be in a position like that. Don't say or express yourself in such a way that you will be actually insulting the other side, or you will make the other side feel bad about what is happening. So the best thing to do is, when the judge is grilling the other side, don't look at the judge, don't look at the other side. You just look at your papers. That's enough. Because the judge also subconsciously sometimes sees how the other side is reacting when he is grilling. These are not trade secrets. Everybody knows it. So, this is another instance where you have to maintain complete silence. And when a judge is in your favor, the best thing to do is to remain silent. And even if the judge is a bit wrong on facts, there is a way of putting it to the judge. Meaning, after everything, when he is about to dictate something, maybe you will have to get up and say that the facts probably will have to be looked at this way, or insofar as that is concerned, it requires a slight change of facts. I am sorry, my lord, I should have told you. Something like that. It does not hurt the judge. And at the same time, the judge picks up that fact where he went wrong. And you got what you want. So, when the judge is in your favor, the best language is silence. That's the best language you will use. Then finally, when you address before the court, don't use phrases like, the other side is misleading the court, or he is lying before the court, or your lordships did not understand what I said. The same thing can be put in a different way. You can say, my lord, my friend may not be right in what he is saying, subject to, my lord, corrections which he is a better way of putting it. Or when the judge does a mistake on facts, you can say that, Lord, may I say this, because probably if I am wrong, I will correct it, Lord, but I feel that if you say it, it's not cowing down. You are not bending backwards to satisfy a judge, but it's human psychology is what I am trying to say. Here, my dear friends, don't think that I am trying to tell you something which will make you sort of slave to a judge. No, I am not saying that. But I am trying to convey you a psychology that is involved in a court. And when you convey it in a language which will reach the judge and at the same time will not in any way disturb him, and what is the purpose of you conducting the case? To win for your client. That is the entire purpose of your language, of your conveying this and that. There is no use in winning a point against the judge and losing a case. Your client will take away the bundle and go. He will not even pay the balance fees. So, this is exactly which you must understand. So, the whole purpose of this English as a skill of advocacy is to do your best for the client and get successful orders for your client, and you will be able to do it only if you express yourself well before the court and not by impressing the court. So, I am able to see from all your eyes that the message which I wanted to convey has reached you. So, I will not be standing here for another moment. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank your Lordship for your valuable insights on how to use language in a courtroom. May I request Member English Literary Club, Mr. S. Michael Heldon Kumar, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening. Hon'ble Mr.Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, respected Senior Advocate Isaac Mohanlal Sir, respected President of MMBA Mr. S. Srinivasa Raghavan Sir, respected Secretary Mr. K.P. Narayana Kumar Sir, respected WA President Anandavalli Madam, respected WA Secretary Krishnaveni Ma'am, and other office bearers of MMBA, respected seniors and friends. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of MMBA English Literary Club, here together, and on my behalf, extend a very hearty gratitude to the Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, for giving excellent coverage on the topic and for providing encouragement to our fraternity to improve our skills. We are highly benefited by Lordship address on 3 keys of success, mainly the power of listening, purpose of language is only to convey, and language as an advocate. We are all inspired by your great words, sir. Finally, I would like to thank the chairman of English Literary Club, coordinators and members of our club for perfect support, guidance, and for their enormous cooperation in organizing this seminar. Thank you everyone for being with us in this evening. Thank you very much.